Picture this. You are 12 years old, a boy in a quiet Bulgarian village in the year 1550. The morning mist clings to the valley like a shroud as you follow your father into the pasture, tending to the sheep that are both your family's wealth and your world. The gentle clinking of the bells around their necks is a song you've known since birth, a rhythm of safety and familiarity. In the kitchen, your mother is kneading dough, the warm smell of bread mingling with the tang of goat's milk. This is what home tastes like. This is what safety feels like. Then it comes. The thunder of hooves, echoing off the cobblestones. Your father stiffens as though struck by an unseen hand. His face drains of colour, paler than parchment. Your mother's clay jug slips from her hand and crashes to the floor, splintering into shards that scatter like your world is about to. Every villager knows what those hoofbeats mean. The Sultan's collectors have arrived. You crouch behind a wooden cart, peering out as Ottoman officials dismount. Their robes are silks that seem untouched by the dust of travel, their boots polished like black mirrors. Scrolls and lists hang from their belts. Their eyes, sharp and indifferent, scan the crowd as if they are assessing livestock at a market. One official raises his hand and points, directly at you. Your mother collapses to her knees. She begs in your language, a tongue they do not care to understand. Your father stands silent, shoulders heavy with the knowledge that resistance will not save you but condemn them all. In that silence is his surrender. In your mother's cries is your first taste of loss. You are dragged forward. They tell your parents it is an honour. They promise that you will serve the Sultan himself, that you will rise to greatness. But their voices are cold, and their promises are chains. As the cart lurches away, you glimpse your mother one last time. She is screaming your name, her voice breaking, until it fades into the valley's mist. You know, with the kind of certainty that crushes a child's heart, that you will never see her again. This is the beginning of your new life, a life that will twist you into something unrecognizable, a palace boy in the most powerful empire on earth. A life where survival will demand sacrifices you cannot yet imagine. The journey itself is your first lesson in cruelty. Dozens of boys are gathered from distant villages. Greeks, Serbs, Bulgarians, Albanians. They are your companions in misfortune, bound not by friendship, but by shared despair. You march for weeks across rugged terrain. The food is meagre, the nights colder than you've ever known. Some sleep on bare ground, others huddle beneath makeshift shelters that collapse in the rain. The weak stumble, fall, and are left behind. You learn, too quickly, that weakness equals death. Beside you walks Nikos, 14, taken from a Greek fishing village. On the third night, he attempts to run. You hear his hurried footsteps, see his shadow darting through the trees. For a heartbeat, hope flickers if he can escape. Perhaps you can too. But he is caught before reaching a mile. Dragged back into camp, beaten until his screams tear the night apart, Nikos becomes a warning. You close your eyes, but the sound follows you. Escape, you understand, is not freedom. It is suicide. So you adapt. You walk silently. You eat when told. You move like a ghost. You try to make yourself invisible whenever the guard's attention sharpens. Still, each morning, there are fewer boys in line. Some tried to run, some collapsed, some simply stopped moving. Their absence is a grim reminder, a shadow that stretches toward you. Survive or vanish. Weeks later, the skyline of Istanbul pierces the horizon. To outsiders, it is magnificent, the minarets like spears against the sky, the massive dome of Hagia Sophia glinting like a crown, and the sprawling palace complex rising in marble majesty. To you it is not beauty, it is dread solidified into stone. This city is no homecoming, it is a prison dressed as a jewel. Upon arrival, you face your first selection. Officials examine you with the detachment of merchants appraising wares. They pry open your mouth, checking your teeth as if you were a horse. They measure your limbs, test your reflexes, note your features with the scrutiny of art dealers. Intelligence, obedience, beauty. These are the currencies that matter. The brightest and most handsome are sent toward the palace school, the Enderun. Others are marked for the Janissaries, the empire's elite corps of soldiers. The rest are discarded into lesser servitude, forgotten before their scars heal. When their gaze lingers on you, your unblemished skin, your sharp eyes, you feel a chill. Their smiles are not kind. They are the smiles of predators recognizing valuable prey. You are chosen for the palace. And though you do not yet understand it, this choice will determine everything that follows. You are led through gates taller than any church tower you have ever seen. Beyond them lies the world that will redefine you, the sprawling labyrinth of Topkapi Palace. At first glance, it looks like a dream. Courtyards lined with marble fountains, gardens fragrant with roses and orange blossoms, chambers painted with gold leaf. But you soon realize this beauty is a mask, a gilded cage designed to dazzle visitors while concealing the suffering inside. You are taken to a dormitory, a long marble hall lined with narrow beds. At first touch, the silk sheets feel soft, almost luxurious. Yet you discover quickly that they are not comforts but chains. That night, as you lie awake, you hear sounds that will haunt you. Muffled sobs of boys trying to hide their tears in pillows, whispers in strange tongues, Greek, Albanian, Serbian prayers offered in desperation. And footsteps, always footsteps. Supervisors pacing the halls like predators, pausing now and then to listen. You grip the small wooden cross your mother pressed into your hand the day you were taken. By morning it is gone, confiscated, a piece of your past, erased in silence. They strip away your name next. You are told that your Christian identity is finished. You are no longer who you were. In a ritual staged with pomp and false dignity, they recite words in a tongue you barely understand. You repeat them because refusal is unthinkable. They give you a new name, Mehmet. It is meant to bury your origins, to make you one of them. You are expected to smile, as though you have chosen this transformation. But deep within, you cling to your mother's lullabies, your father's stories, the memories they cannot steal. The palace school, the Enderun, is praised by officials as the empire's crown jewel of education, a place where the most gifted are molded into future leaders, and in a way, it is true. You are taught Turkish, Persian, and Arabic. You copy calligraphy until your fingers ache. You memorize verses of law, learn mathematics and astronomy, listen to lectures on poetry and music. Some nights you glimpse the stars through lattice windows, calculating their movements as your tutors demand. By the standards of the time, it is an extraordinary education. Yet every lesson carries a price you did not choose to pay. Because beneath the polished surface of knowledge lies something darker, systematic breaking and remaking of the self. You are not simply being taught, you are being unmade. It begins subtly. Older students approach you. One boy, Ahmed, has been here for 3 years. He is respected, even feared, because teachers listen when he speaks. One evening, he sits on the edge of your bed uninvited, his smile both warm and threatening. "You're new," he says. "You don't know how things work. I can protect you. I can make sure your teachers look kindly on you." His hand rests on your shoulder. You freeze. You have never been touched this way, never felt such dread creeping over your skin. Then his voice drops to a whisper, but protection comes with gratitude, special gratitude. You are 12 years old. You do not fully understand, but you know enough to feel the trap closing. Refuse, and you risk beatings, isolation, and being marked as disobedient, a death sentence for your future. Accept, and you surrender the last fragments of innocence. There is no good choice. Only survival. The system is designed this way. Eunuchs, men castrated as boys, themselves victims of cruelty, now hold positions of authority. Some use their power to shield. Many use it to prey. Older students, hardened by years of submission, perpetuate the same abuses on newcomers. It is a cycle stretching back generations, normalized so deeply it feels as though it were part of the palace walls themselves. The palace hierarchy is a world of unspoken rules. Advancement depends not just on intelligence, but on your ability to please. And pleasing can mean anything. The most beautiful boys are adorned like treasures, paraded at banquets, praised for their grace. Officials with influence pluck them from obscurity, accelerating their studies, granting privileges so long as they are compliant. Those who resist are punished, broken, or erased from the rolls altogether. At first you try to hold on to some middle path. You study diligently, you follow rules, You speak only when spoken to. You try to avoid the eyes that linger too long, but there is no hiding forever. In this world, invisibility is temporary. The palace is designed to consume you. And so the education of the mind is always paired with the education of submission. Lessons in poetry are accompanied by lessons in obedience. Music and astronomy are taught in the same halls where boys cry in silence. Every corridor, every marble column, every ornate chamber is both classroom and prison. In the end, the most dangerous subject you learn here is not mathematics or literature. It is survival, how to move through a system that sees you not as a child, but as property, an instrument to be polished, displayed, and used. Years pass, but time inside the palace does not feel like time outside. Days blur into one another, measured not by seasons but by lessons, punishments, and whispers. You no longer count your age in years, you count it in scars, in secrets, in nights survived without being summoned. Here, survival is a game with rules no teacher ever writes down, and every boy must play. You quickly learn that silence is both weapon and shield. Those who speak too freely, who confide in others, often vanish. Perhaps they are reassigned to remote military posts, perhaps they are sold into households, perhaps worse. No one dares to ask. So you teach yourself to lock your thoughts behind your teeth, to smile when necessary, to bow deeper than you ever thought possible. But silence alone is not enough. To survive, you must choose your alliances carefully. Ahmed, the older student who once cornered you, has risen in rank. He is now favoured by a high-ranking official. His influence in the dormitory is undeniable. To oppose him is to invite torment. To submit to him is to lose yourself. And so you walk the tightrope close enough to avoid his cruelty, distant enough to keep a fragment of your dignity. In the palace, beauty is as dangerous as weakness. Boys with sharp cheekbones and luminous eyes are marked early. They are summoned to private chambers, dressed in silks finer than their tutors wear. Some return boasting of gifts, rings, coins, promises of future posts. Others return with hollow stares, their voices forever changed. You pray each night not to be noticed, but fate is merciless. One evening, a eunuch stops before you during inspection. His gaze lingers. He says nothing, only scribbles your name on a tablet. You do not sleep that night, waiting for footsteps that never come. The reprieve feels like a miracle, but you know it is temporary. Rivalries bloom like poisonous flowers. Every boy dreams of advancement, to become a page in the Sultan's inner court, to rise through the Enderun ranks, perhaps even to one day govern provinces or command armies. But there are too many dreamers, too few places, and so jealousy festers. Whispers turn into sabotage. You once find your books stolen, your lessons ruined just before an examination. Another boy is beaten after being accused falsely of disrespecting a tutor. No one believes him, and yet he is punished all the same. In this world, innocence offers no protection. The games extend beyond the dormitories. Banquets, where you are sometimes forced to serve, become stages for humiliation. Foreign ambassadors marvel at the refinement of the young pages, never suspecting the fear behind their painted smiles. Eunuchs watch closely, noting who moves gracefully, who falters, who attracts the eye of a vizier. Every gesture, every bow, every sip of wine poured is a test, and failure is remembered. Yet amid this cruelty, fragments of humanity survive. You find solace in stolen moments, whispering prayers in your old tongue with another boy who remembers the same hymns, pressing your forehead against the cool marble wall to imagine it is the stone of your childhood church, or gazing at the Bosporus through a tiny lattice, dreaming of a horizon you may never reach. You also discover small rebellions. Some boys carve hidden symbols into their bed frames, tiny marks. Only they understand reminders that they were once more than property. Others secretly pass scraps of poetry, verses filled with longing for home. These acts are dangerous, but they keep the soul from collapsing entirely. And then, there is the body yours, changing with age. You are no longer a trembling child, but an adolescent. Strength begins to show in your arms, confidence in your voice. With this change comes new danger. You are now both more useful and more visible. Your tutors press harder, expecting perfection. Officials take greater notice. The games intensify, because the stakes are higher. In the Enderun, Survival is not just about endurance, it is about transformation. You are being shaped, day by day, into a weapon the Empire can wield, but at what cost? Each compromise, each silence, each forced smile chips away at the memory of who you once were. And deep down, you wonder, when the day comes, that you leave these palace walls, if it ever comes, will there be anything left of the boy who once whispered prayers in a language now forbidden? At last, the day arrives, the day whispered about in the dormitories with both dread and pride. You, along with a handful of others, are chosen to serve closer to the heart of power, the inner court of the Sultan. The Enderun has prepared you for this moment, but nothing could truly prepare you for the suffocating weight of his presence. The palace corridors narrow, walls glimmering with Iznik tiles, verses from the Quran spiralling across in gold. Guards stand silent as statues, their eyes fixed ahead. You walk barefoot on carpets soft as clouds, each step a reminder that you are no longer simply a student. You are a servant of the ruler of half the known world. When the doors open, you see him, Sultan Suleiman, or perhaps another in his line, for the faces may change, but the aura never does. He sits beneath a canopy of silk, robes heavy with jewels, his beard immaculately combed. Around him are viziers, generals, scholars and courtiers, all watching with reverence, all calculating their every gesture. You are told to bow so low your forehead nearly touches the floor. You do. When you rise, you do not look directly at him. To meet his eyes uninvited is forbidden. Yet even without looking, you feel his presence pressing against your chest, like a mountain of flesh and power. From this moment, your life is lived in the Sultan's shadow. Your duties seem simple, pouring sherbet, arranging robes, carrying messages, reading poetry aloud. But every task is a test. Spill a drop of drink, and you are clumsy. Read a verse poorly, and you are dull. Breathe at the wrong moment, and you might catch the Sultan in a rare fit of fury. Punishments are swift and merciless, because in the Sultan's court, even a page's error is seen as a stain upon the empire. But fear is not the only shadow cast. There is also a lure. To serve near the Sultan is to stand at the edge of greatness. Viziers notice you. Generals test your wit. Eunuchs whisper about which pages may soon rise higher. You see boys younger than you transformed overnight into favourites, their fates tied directly to the Sultan's whims. Some are gifted estates, others are married into powerful families. A lucky few climb so high that they command armies, govern provinces, even decide matters of war and peace. It is intoxicating, this nearness to the Sunday, yet you know too well what happens when one flies too close. Because the Sultan's favour is as fleeting as it is dangerous. A smile today may be replaced by silence tomorrow. A boy once cherished, praised for his voice and beauty, suddenly disappears. Whispers say he was caught boasting too loudly, or that he looked too long at the wrong person. Some claim he was poisoned. Others swear they saw his body carried out at night, shrouded in silence. And so you live in constant tension, balancing obedience with wit, humility with ambition, invisibility with charm. Every gesture, every word, every bow is calculated. You are no longer a boy. You are a mask wearing human flesh, trained to please, to survive, to exist entirely in the reflected light of another man's glory. The Sultan's shadow stretches far, even into your dreams. At night you see him sitting on his throne, eyes glinting like coals, weighing your soul as though it were a coin. You wake drenched in sweat, clutching at the sheets, wondering if tomorrow will be the day you are noticed or erased. And yet, within you stirs something you cannot entirely suppress, the faintest ember of defiance. When you recite poetry, you sometimes slip in a line not from the Quran or Persian classics, but from the songs of your childhood. No one notices, but you do. It is your secret rebellion, a reminder that beneath the silks, beneath the bowing and fear, beneath even the Sultan's shadow, you are still you. By now, years have hardened you. You are no longer the trembling child stolen from his village. You move through the palace like a shadow yourself, every step measured, every word sharpened. The Sultan's world has seeped into your bones, and with it comes the most dangerous temptation of all, ambition. For ambition is the currency of the palace, more valuable than gold, more deadly than a blade. Boys who once wept silently in the dormitory now stand as polished young men, each calculating how far they can climb. The hierarchy that once seemed endless is suddenly within reach if you are willing to pay the price. The empire offers rewards beyond imagination. The brightest of you may become provincial governors, entrusted with entire regions. Others rise as generals, commanding armies that stretch across continents. A select few, molded to perfection, may one day become viziers themselves, standing at the Sultan's side as his most trusted voices. But nothing is given freely. Every step upward demands a sacrifice. You soon learn that loyalty in the palace is never pure. It is a blade with two edges. The Sultan demands obedience beyond reason, loyalty that silences conscience, loyalty that requires betrayal. You watch as one of your closest friends, a boy who once shared hymns with you in whispers, is ordered to report on another student. He hesitates. By dawn, he is gone, erased from memory, his name never spoken again. His silence was loyalty to friendship, but disloyalty to the Sultan. And in this world, only one loyalty matters. Eunuchs and tutors test you constantly. They drop subtle traps, questions asked in passing, tasks given with hidden motives. If you saw your brother in error, would you tell us? If the Sultan commanded you to act against your own kin, would you obey? The wrong answer can destroy you. The right answer can destroy who you once were. The deeper you rise, the more you see the machinery of empire laid bare. You see how provinces are bled of their wealth to fund palaces and wars. You see how soldiers, janissaries like you, become both sword and shield of the Sultan, feared by enemies and subjects alike. And you realize the truth. You are no longer a victim of this system. You are becoming its instrument. The price of loyalty is not only blood spilled, it is blood accepted. You begin to understand why older pages speak with such hollow eyes. To survive here is to allow the empire to hollow you, to fill you with its own will. One night, you are summoned unexpectedly. A eunuch leads you through twisting corridors until you stand before a chamber lit only by oil lamps. Inside, a high-ranking official waits, his robe heavy with embroidery. He studies you for a long moment before speaking. The Sultan values obedience above all, he says. A time will come when you must prove yours. Perhaps it will mean betraying a friend. Perhaps it will mean striking down a man who once saved your life. Perhaps it will mean silencing your own past. When that moment comes, remember, loyalty is survival, hesitation is death. You bow, your face a mask of obedience, but inside something cracks, because you know he speaks the truth. You are no longer asked whether you will give loyalty, you are told that your very life depends on it. And as you return to your chamber, the question burns hotter than ever. How much of yourself must you sacrifice to remain alive? And when the last piece of you is gone, what exactly will be left to survive?